Good morning, guys. So we are going to do some more comparing of fractions, and this is kind of a little bit of review of yesterday's lesson. We are comparing fractions with the same denominator. Now, is denominator the top portion or the bottom portion of the fraction? Yeah, it's the bottom portion, and it tells us how many pieces are in the whole or in the group. So really, we're just going to be comparing how many of the same size pieces, okay? So everything is the same size, which is nice. It makes it a little bit easier for us to figure things out. So let's go ahead and read Unlock the Problem. Jeremy and Christine are each making a quilt block. Both blocks are the same size, and both are made of 4 equal size squares. 2/4 of Jeremy's squares are green. 1/4 of Christina's squares are green. Whose quilt block has more green squares? So what we always do first is we go ahead and we underline what it's asking us to find. And I'm actually going to circle the word more, okay? Because we got to figure out which one is more. And then you're going to circle the important information. And now we've got to try and figure this out. So they have very nicely already drawn us a diagram of their quilt squares, okay? So they just took a square and cut it into 4 equal pieces, right? That makes sense. So now we have to fill in the quilt squares with green. So I changed my pen color. And it says Jeremy has how much? 2/4. And Christina has how much? 1/4. Okay, so now that we've done that, how are we going to figure out which one is more? Now, the lovely thing about drawing a picture is that we can just look at the picture, and this is, it's kind of simple. Looking at this picture definitely looks like Jeremy has more, right? So now we got to use our greater than or lesser than sign, and the mouth part of the greater than, lesser than sign is the part that goes towards the big number, eating it. Okay, so we're going to put it like that. So we know Jeremy has more, but we have to also compare the fractions. We can't compare pictures, unfortunately. So when we have 2/4 and 1/4, which one is greater? Yeah, the 2/4. So we're going to put our symbol in there as well. So blank quilt block has more green squares. Is it Jeremy or Christina? Yeah, it's Jeremy. I'm just going to put a J here. Well, maybe. Weird. All right. All right, so we're going to move on to the next question. And this time, instead of looking at a whole cut up, we are looking at groups of things, which is fine. We got this. Compare fractions of a group. Jen and Maggie each have 6 buttons. So how much is in our group? 6. So is that going to be the denominator or the numerator? Yeah, it's going to be the denominator because our denominator is how many pieces are in the whole or the group. Okay, so we for sure are going to have a 6 on the bottom. Okay, so it says here, shade 3 of Jen's buttons to show the number of buttons that are red. Okay. Shade 5 of Maggie's buttons to show the buttons that are red. All right. Write a fraction to show the number of red buttons in each group. So we have 2 groups here. We have Jen's group and we have Maggie's group. And then we're going to compare the fractions. All right, so we already wrote the bottom part of our fraction because, we know the denominator in the group. We have 6. Now, what part are we counting? We are counting the red part. Okay, so how many reds do we have? 3. And how many reds do we have for Maggie? 5. Can you guys say those fractions for me? This is 3/6, and 5/6. Okay, so now we have to compare them. And we can easily compare these numbers by just looking at the numerators because our denominators are the same. So when we're looking at the numerators, we have a 3 and a 5. Which number is bigger? Yeah, the 5 is bigger. 3 is less than 5. So we know blank 6 is less than blank 6. Which one's the smaller fraction, guys? You got this. We know that 3/6 is less than 5/6. So blank has the greater fraction of red buttons. So Maggie has the greater fraction of red buttons. All right, let's look at the next page. Okay, so for this one, you might want your fraction strips, but it's up to you because they also have a drawing in the book. So this one is specifically using the eighths, which is our brown one. Okay. So it says use fraction strips and a number line. At the craft store, one piece of ribbon is 2/8 of a yard long. Another piece of ribbon is 7/8 of a yard long. Sean wants to buy the longer piece of ribbon. Which piece should he buy? So the first thing we need to do, underline what it's asking us to do. It's asking us to figure out which piece he should buy. And how do we know what kind of piece he wants to buy? It needs to be longer, okay? So another name for longer would be greater, okay? So we're gonna use our greater than and less than signs again. And so we have two pieces of ribbon. One is 2/8 and one is 7/8. So what we need to do is shade on our fractions 2/8 and 7/8. Here's 2/8. You notice here I started at 0 because when we're comparing fractions, we really want them to line up right next to each other. And it shows right here that that is 2/8. That's a little bit of review from our last unit, okay? I go straight down, it's 2/8. And the other one was supposed to be 7/8. So I got to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we go straight down and it's 7/8. Okay? So now that we've shaded them, can we easily figure out which piece is longer? Yeah, man. I mean, look at the picture. Which piece is longer, guys? The 7/8 is definitely longer, right? Because it's closer to the 1, right? So let's go ahead and read what it says here. Compare the lengths. 2/8 is to the left of 7/8. It is closer to 0/8 or 0. I actually accidentally wrote that in. Okay, I wanted that black. 7/8 is to the blank of 2/8. Oh, I don't get that. It is closer to 8/8, or what is another name for 8/8? 1. Okay. So on the bottom, it has the less than sign and the greater than sign. So we're still putting the fractions in. And we know all of them have the same bottom. We're comparing eighths. So the first one, which one is less eighths? See how the mouse is going the other way. The one that's less eighths is 2 and greater eighths is 7. And then here they flipped it. So which one is greater and which one is less? 7 and 2. So Sean should buy the piece of ribbon that is how long? 7/8, right? That's the longer one. It's almost a whole foot of ribbon or a whole yard of ribbon. All right, guys. I would like you to try this one on your own. You are going to have to read carefully, underline what it's asking you to find, circle the important information, and if you need to draw a picture, draw a picture. If you need to use your fraction strips, use your fraction strips. We use our resources, okay? If you have a parent or a older sibling around, use them to help you out. All right, guys, I am glad we did this today. I will see you again later.